Koala Calamity, Surf's Up by Jonathan Mears, read by Amelia Cormack. Meet Squirt, Dude, Bro, and Squeak, the craziest koalas in town. Chapter 1. Days rarely started with a bang at the Acacia Koala Sanctuary, and today was no different. All was spookily quiet. The only thing rising was the sun. The sky in the east was gradually changing from inky black to pinky blue. Not that Dude or Bro or Squirt noticed. Dude, Bro, and Squirt were still fast asleep, along with all the other koalas. Well, all the other koalas except one.
"Wakey, wakey!"
squeaked Squeak.
"Wakey, wakey!"
Dude, Bro, and Squirt slept blissfully on. Not only were the koalas naturally very lazy and sleepy, they'd been up unusually late the night before, giggling and chomping eucalyptus branches high in the treetops. It was still quite a new experience for Squirt to be allowed to hang out with his big brother Bro and Bro's best friend Dude. It was something Squirt thought would never, ever happen. But the adventure they'd had finding their way across the city to the big zoo had changed all that. Without Squirt, Dude and Bro would never have made it. Since then, Squirt had no longer irritated his brother and got on his nerves all the time. Just most of the time.
"Wakey, wakey!"
squeaked Squeak again.
"Wakey, wakey! Wakey, wakey!"
Bro let out a little snore. Dude yawned. Squirt scratched himself. But all three remained determinedly asleep. Squeak wasn't very happy. She was awake and couldn't see why everyone else wasn't awake too. Sleeping was boring, especially when there were so many other things to do, like bounce up and down on her big brother's tummy, for instance. "Oh, what?" grunted Bro, finally beginning to wake up. "What's going on? Get off me, Squeak, you big fat wombat!"
"Wakey, wakey!"
squeaked Squeak.
"Wakey, wakey, wakey!"
All right, said Bro. "I heard you the first time." chuckled Dude, despite still being half asleep. "You can put a sock in it too, you wallaby," said Bro. "Sorry, mate," said Dude, stifling a yawn. Bro could be pretty grumpy at the best of times, and now wasn't exactly the best of times. Not only had he been woken up by his little sister using his tummy as a trampoline, he'd been in the middle of a particularly nice dream, in which he'd been chowing down the most delicious eucalyptus branch he'd ever tasted.
"Morning, sis,"
said Squirt.
"Yeah, squirty-worty, squirty-worty!"
squeaked Squeak, throwing herself at Squirt and very nearly knocking him off the branch. For a small koala, Squeak could be surprisingly strong at times.
"Careful,"
said Squirt.
"Pooh-pooh,"
replied Squeak. chuckled Dude again, by now somewhere between half asleep and half awake. "So that's where you are," said Mrs. M, appearing in the treetop. "What are you doing up here? It's much too high."
"Sorry, Ma,"
said Squirt. "Not you, Squirt," said Mrs. M. "I meant your sister."
"Oh, right,"
said Squirt. Not only was he not used to hanging out with Dude and Bro high in the treetops, he still wasn't used to not being the youngest. He didn't mind not being the youngest. He loved it. It meant he was no longer constantly teased and treated like a baby. "Morning, Mrs. M," said Dude, finally fully awake. Or as awake as Dude ever was, anyway. "Morning, Dude," said Mrs. M. "Morning, dear." But Bro said nothing. Either he'd fallen asleep.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?